Now, I'm not trying to treat this video as just hating on Marathon or just in general just being part of that group of people that are just like, well, I hate this game because it's not a Destiny 3 and it took away resources of Destiny 3 or whatever. Like I just feel nothing when it comes to Marathon. And the thing is at first I was looking forward to giving the game a try, which I never got a code, so I never got to play it, which it was kind of disappointing. But I mean, at the same time, I was more focused on playing Oblivion Remastered at the time, so maybe that was a good thing. You know, they ensured that I was playing something that I really wanted to play versus possibly something that would just disappoint me even further. But what I've heard through, like, the people that have played it is it's very mixed. Like, there's not like just like a full-on yes, this game is amazing, or like where like the percentage of people are feeling one way or the other. It's very like all over the place. Like it's and you know, regardless though, it seems that even with the people that enjoy the game, there is still a lot of worry for it as well. Like a lot of the things that I'll mention in this video, but I planned on making a video where I was going to go in depth of my feelings, because the only thing that I really said was the game looked interesting when I was reacting to the live stream. And people took that video and thought that I was just like, you know, just going crazy over the game. Like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Like, it's exciting to look at. And it was like, okay, you got my interest with the, at least like the art direction, which, yeah, that didn't, that's not going so well for them right now with the whole plagiarism thing and such, which, like, already it's just a bad look with how Bungie has been like going with the marketing of Marathon because of just all this bad press. I mean, with the, like I said, the plagiarism, and then there was a article of like all these Bungie employees, which I talked about with the toxicity over at Bungie, where it's just working at the studio overall is just a bad like place. Like, there's just so many issues that they really need to solve. And Bungie is just, they really need to have good press so then they can market their games where people are like, okay, I love Bungie, I can't wait to play this. But again, with how things have been going and the original reaction to Marathon, at first, it looked like a lot of people were really looking forward to playing the full game when it was going to come out, because I remember like viewership for Marathon was really high on the first day, but it's gotten to a point where now, even though I know that they haven't shown anything else, you know, further since the alpha, it's gotten to the point where it's silent now. And when it comes to Marathon, for me, my biggest struggle was the hook. Where was it? When it comes to a lot of these genres that are copy pasted everywhere, like the same genre, like, so in this case, extraction shooters are just going to be, I guess at this point, the new trend, and it's already fatiguing. And yet the funny thing is the only like extraction shooter that I can really think of was Tarkov. Like I was like, is there really any other ones? I mean, you could consider like Division beforehand and such, but for the most part, I just couldn't think of any other than that. But it was just, you would see a bunch of games being developed with that genre in mind. And I mean, you even hear that they were going to try and do a Titanfall extraction shooter, and that got canceled, which, what, like, why are they so allergic to just making a Titanfall 3? But anyways, but when it comes to extraction shooters, I just don't really care for them. But if there's like a large enough like hook, then I may give it a try, or it would end up probably being in a game that I really do enjoy and want to play more of. I mean, I don't like turn-based games like at all, but like a good example is Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is one of my favorite games, and that's turn-based. It's just the way that they do that game compared to other turn-based games with their combat and such. And the story is also very good. Like, the whole game, art, story, you know, the gameplay is what hooked me. Marathon, it just looks, I don't know, it doesn't really look like a Bungie Magic kind of game. Like, it just feels like it's just way too generic, but not. It's hard to say like what this feeling is about it, but it's gotten to a point where I don't feel anything. I'm not hyped. I'm not even curious anymore, because after watching like gameplay from others playing it, from the very sweaty tryhards kind of people playing to the very casual, on both ends of their gameplays, I just was like, yeah, I don't know. I see some of the things that I like, where especially when it comes to if you end up dying and you lose all your stuff, there's thankfully like still like your time in that game is worth it. Like, you're getting permanent unlocks through like XP, and you do have like these challenges and stuff that you'll still get credit for. Like, it's not like, oh well you lost everything, because I hate that feeling of just losing everything. But yeah, it's just, other than that, it's nice, but I just can't. I'm not seeing it, because especially after I got to see gameplay of Ark Raiders, which a lot of people like to compare that game, which I completely forgot that game was still a thing, because it was like a completely different game originally. I think it was supposed to be a looter shooter that was PvE focused, but then they changed it completely to an extraction shooter, which normally that would spell for bad news. But it's turned into a lot of like good reactions with people that have played it so far, and even with what I'm seeing, I'm like, yeah, that looks good. And it's a third person one, and I normally just kind of go about third person, especially for an extraction shooter, but it's looking pretty good. And I feel like the hook with that one is a lot better than Marathon. Even just like the PvE enemies alone compared to Marathon. Like, Marathon's, that's my large issue, is like the PvE enemies are just robots or something, and they're the only difference of the ones that you'll find is how spongy can they be. Like, they don't have any real unique designs like of their combat, which is weird when this is Bungie we're talking about, that made Destiny with tons of different enemies. I mean, yes, they like to copy paste a lot of them, but the combat of the enemies in Destiny, they vary. They have unique stuff to them, and in their designs and their combat. And Marathon, it's like very bland in the variety and such. Like, so I just was struggling to really understand why. Like, they apparently spent a lot of time working on this game, and yet it feels, I know it was only an alpha, but I mean, I'm gonna assume that there probably isn't going to be more enemies. I mean, who knows, PvE wise, but it's just weird. I mean, Marathon, if I remember correctly, that there was way more different types of enemies that did different things, and they're absent in this game. So it's just like, I know it's still Marathon per se, but it's just, I'm struggling to be like, is this still the Marathon universe? It doesn't feel like it fully. Like, what's going on? And a lot of the bad decisions that they're also doing, like no solos. Why? No proximity and an extraction shooter, and their reasoning was because of the toxicity of like game chat. I'm like, just allow people to opt out of proximity, just like any game. Like, you're not going to be the safety police of the bad words of in the gaming toxicity environment or whatever. Like, that's like, again, just allow players to turn it off. Like, nobody's going to really mind having to go into a menu and turn that off. I always do when I'm playing like certain games. Like, I don't want to hear game chatter, but for an extraction shooter, that's like the main way to communicate. Like, especially when you want to buddy up with like another enemy, that's your way of doing that, is talking and saying, hey, are you a friendly? It allows more unique interactions in your game, and they just want to not have it. Like, it's really weird. I don't know if they ever backtracked a lot of that stuff, including solos, but because that was like, again, it's $40 game, It's not free to play, and they're not going to allow solos as well. So they expect people to find 2 other friends to buy the game to get the experience that Bungie wants you to have versus what you would want to have. Like, I don't understand it. It's just so weird to me. So, you know, right away, and I've been hearing that leadership when it comes to developing Marathon have been, you know, making these bad decisions because we've been hearing apparently from former Bungie employees that like they've tried to push like PvE as well inside a Marathon, like where it wasn't just going to be an extraction shooter PvP experience. And hearing that there was like devs trying to push for PvE really says a lot. Like, it's just, there's a lot of bad leadership, it seems, and just horrible decisions. I mean, like, the only reason, for example, like Final Shape was as good as it was because devs like demanded that there would be a delay so then they can work a lot more on like the expansion to make it great. And it was. Final Shape was phenomenal, and so was the little free update with Into the Light. And I know that was because the devs had more say on what was being made. So when it comes to Marathon, I'm just worried like that it's just gonna be a lot of just bad decisions. I mean, they really need to release this game proper with like a lot of hype and a lot of people playing it, and just the energy for the game, it's just not there. And I know that one reason is because they haven't shown it off lately, because right now they're just kind of clearly trying to fix a lot of things going on in the background. But I feel like even if they showed off more gameplay, I don't know, they would really need to like show some really, really crazy stuff. But I think for the most part, they've shown off the full game. Like, I was kind of hoping to myself that, okay, maybe like the reason why it just looks kind of not bland, but not as like as big as like what I was expecting is probably because it's an alpha. And like maybe 50% of the game is just not there. To find out that I think that's pretty much the game. Like, again, the PvE enemies alone. Like, the weapons and stuff, I mean, look nice, sort of, but it's just, I don't know. At first, I was really praising the art direction. Obviously, now it's really, yeah, it's a bad time for Bungie. But after seeing more about like what the weapons look like and such, I think that maybe if I got to see like the version of exotic weapons more through like Marathon, I could say differently. But it just doesn't look that great anymore. And I hope that I hope that I could be wrong. I'm not saying that I don't want Marathon to do well. Again, I'm not in that boat of toxicity where, because again, I think that a lot of people don't realize is that, no, I don't genuinely think that Marathon was like a huge like reason why Destiny has had its issues. Because I mean, regardless, I also have stated that they're not going to drop Destiny if Marathon does better or equal or whatever, because number one, they would be making a really bad decision. Because, like, if you really think about it, if they relied on just Marathon, imagine just a year where nobody's playing. Where's their revenue coming from? Not from Destiny anymore, because they dropped it. Like, if that was going to be the case, that they don't want, like, you can clearly tell that they're just trying to have at least 2 IPs that they can rely on for consistent revenue. Because, I mean, they almost pretty much shut down their entire studio because of Curse of Osiris. Because Destiny 2 was that bad in the player counts and so on, that they were in trouble. And I don't think that they really want to rely on Marathon being always like getting a lot of players playing and spending money. I don't think so. Again, Destiny is more expansive than Marathon. Marathon is just going to be an extraction shooter. For the most part, unless they change things maybe down the road, like a year ahead, and they're like, oh, PvE now. But Destiny is just way more financially smarter to work on than really just replacing that with a game that's one genre and hoping that it stays, again, popular, where nothing takes that away. Which, with how many extraction shooters apparently are in development, I feel like, yeah, Bungie definitely knows they're in trouble. There's a lot of, like I said, Ark Raiders alone is looking insanely better, and that's depressing, like, for Bungie. So no, I don't want it to fail, but at the same time, I'm just scratching my head, like, why did they have to make this? Like, this is Bungie. Why didn't they turn Marathon into Halo? What I mean by that is, like, Halo had co-op campaign, you had arena modes, the PvP, and you had custom games and crazy stuff like Forge, and custom games where you could do crazy stuff with it as well. And you had theater mode or whatever, but, like, Marathon could have been like that. They could have had, like, the extraction shooter mode be tied to all these other things that Marathon has. You know, PvP, arena, shooter modes, and custom games, and Forge, being able to make maps for the extraction shooter. Like, the whole thing that I felt like Bungie was, like, the kings of was making a game that was very, like, just community focused, where it was a very social, like, the games that they created were very social when it came to Halo. And Destiny kind of had, well, not kind of, it had the same thing. Like, obviously they didn't have Forge or anything, but they had that whole sense of community. Marathon is, like, completely different, and it's weird. Like, again, I just think to myself, like, in another universe, what if Marathon was just Halo? Like, it was just a different coat of paint. It's Marathon's universe, not the Halo universe, and that, I feel like, would have gone a whole lot further in hype than whatever they're doing now. Again, I never got to play the game yet. I'm not saying that 100%, yeah, the game is just meh, and there's no hook, and I'm always going to feel like that. Maybe if I play it, I'll change my mind, but I don't know. Most of the time, whenever I look at a game and I'm feeling nothing, even when I play it, it's going to stay that way. So if I'm feeling that, and I'm seeing other people kind of do that, like, even the people that were, like, defending the game are now just not, just doesn't feel like they care at all anymore. Like, it was like there was, like, this huge hype about the game when it was first shown off, and the alpha was just starting, and, like, within the first week. But then everyone was, like, going back to the other games that they are playing that have more of a hook, like Marvel Rivals or something like that, or Tarkov if they want to stay on an extraction shooter. And, you know, people went back to Destiny and so on. Like, even when the alpha was still happening, people just played it and moved on. I don't know. Like, it's just, I really, for the devs' sake, I hope the game does well. But it sucks that it feels like a lot of the bad decision makings is, once again, because of leadership and just poor directions when it comes to that. Like, and just lack of really thinking about how do we make this game way better than just being safe with an extraction shooter. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to just kind of, like, share a more, like, in-depth, this is how I'm feeling kind of thing. And because, again, that's at least how I'm feeling. And that's bad, especially being apathetic about a game, because that's kind of what I'm feeling. That's why it took me so long to talk about this again, because I just don't feel anything about it. And I know the last time, I know, like, people are comparing it to Concord, but I'm not saying Marathon is Concord. They're different games, but Concord ran into that issue where people were not playing it at all because people just had zero emotion for it. Not even hate, just not caring. Apathy. And if Marathon has that when it releases, I feel like it's going to, it's not gonna, it's gonna just, it's not gonna go anywhere. I don't know, and that sucks with how many years they worked on it, but like I said, it's just, I feel for the devs because it's what we've been hearing. Seems like the devs have more of like aha, this is what we should do, but the leadership is like, nuh-uh. Like, I don't know. But regardless, how are you feeling about Marathon? Are you kind of in the same boat as me, or are you feeling different about it? Like, let me know in the comments down below. But regardless, I hope you have a chibi-tastic day, night, evening, wherever you are. I'll see you in the next video. Chibi out.